Morning, we're spending a bit of time on the camp service road here because we had a strange request from some of the guys that have never seen this before. It's basically a congregation of what looks like little worms or grubs, possibly little caterpillars, and we're not entirely sure as to exactly what this is. The only thing that I can relate it to is the processionary moth caterpillars, which form a group like this, and they often move together, and as they move along they leave a strand of silk behind them for the rest of them to then follow. But as we can see here, this is a very dense congregation of millions of tiny little grubs or worms, caterpillars, whereas the processionary caterpillar is probably about that big in relation to these ones, almost the size of sort of half of your index finger. So it's pretty unusual just to see, unless if these are the small grubs that will then grow into the processionary moth caterpillars, which are slightly bigger, but I'm not entirely sure. So we've come out here with the macro lens to try and get some awesome shots of them all moving along in the hopes of then being able to go back and try and identify it. While I'm sitting here, I'm looking, you've got a dense congregation all in the beginning here, but as you then follow it back along, you can see basically where they've come from. So all the way along there, you can see that they've come around here, and to the naked eye, looks as though there's nothing there, but upon zooming right in, one can then actually see that there is still some worms or grubs moving underneath the soil there. So they look a lot smaller, but maybe that's just because they're underneath some of the soil. But a very interesting little congregation here this morning. What's also quite interesting is you see how they're walking all together and then they fork off into different directions, and you can see a few of them all sort of trying to go on their own way, almost the pack leaders there. Like these two, but I'm pretty sure that in time they'll then merge back together. Watching them, you can actually see some of the silk coming out the back of a few of these little grubs. But we've had Chris Goodman across here to come and help us have a little look, and he's pretty knowledgeable with this stuff, and he doesn't seem to think that it's processionary moth caterpillars. But just to watch them all moving along, they've got these tiny little black heads, a pretty clear body with a dark little band to it, which I'm presuming that's their internal organs that we can actually see from the outside. As they'll be going in one direction, they then all be heading in that direction. Something tells them to then stop, and they then come back on themselves to then go and rejoin and get involved with the rest of the congregation there. I wonder where they are going. I wonder if they're going to grow, because I know processionary moth caterpillars do grow in size and they do get a little bit bigger. But yeah, it's just very interesting. So after a little bit of an investigation, we've managed to determine exactly what these little grubs are. They're the larvae of a fungus gnat, which is a type of little fly. So we did a little bit of paging through some of the books that we've got here, as well as a little search online, and have managed to find out that they, in fact, will do this when they're migrating from an area where they've hatched from their eggs to another destination. And they do that in a serpentine, snake worm type manner, where that then will hopefully deter any predation or any predators such as birds or anything that might come down and eat them. So fantastic, awesome to see this, awesome to know exactly what it is, but what a fantastic little break away from the desk. So shortly after finishing up with the little caterpillars this morning, I got a message from Ross saying that he had managed to find another litter of the Ntsevu female cubs. So we've decided to head on out there this morning. There's been a bit of a gap in the rain, so we're zooting down there now, hoping to try and find these cubs and get some good footage. So we've just arrived now to what was a pretty awesome scene of a few of the cubs all moving through the grass. And I'm joined by executive chef Shanae, who has never seen lion cubs in the wild. So arriving down here to a number of these cubs out in the open was a fantastic sight. We've had an intermittent view of them moving around. So what we're going to do is just sit it out and wait for a little bit longer, hoping that they reveal themselves. And while we've been waiting, we actually noticed one of the adult females walking through in the distance. I don't think that was one of the mothers, because I couldn't see any visible or clear suckle marks. But what I'm hoping is if she's around here, maybe one of the mothers does return, and that then might bring the cubs out into the open here. So after hearing what sounded like one of the mothers sneeze in some of the vegetation back there, we tried to reverse ourselves out, and it kind of ended up in a bit of a pickle. So have a look at this. The front right wheel, not so bad. Back right wheel, slightly more questionable. We climb over here. Back left wheel in a serious bit of trouble. Sideboard touching the ground, and front right wheel going absolutely nowhere quickly. So we're going to have to call for a bit of help, but at least we know that the cubs are not too far away over there, and the one female walked off into the distance. So while we're still here, maybe they come out and reveal themselves and we get a different view. But I guess there's worse places to be when you're in a bit of a pickle like this. We've just got word from camp that Joy and Ray are on their way to come and save us, pull us out with a tow rope. But this got us thinking that we're stuck. Yes, we need help, but I'd like to believe that I'm exempt from receiving the pink pouch. You know, the things we do to try and get the shot. But we'll have to take that debate up with the rest of the ranging team once we get back there. So it sounds like our saviour is just about to arrive. Joy, we'll see him in a second here. But whilst we are waiting, there is an elephant coming through behind us, just beyond these bushes. We'll have to get a little view of him. Oh wait, he has a lioness. So how's about that for timing? As Joy and Ray have just arrived, the elephant actually ended up chasing the mother towards us. She's now gone back into exactly where the cubs were. The elephants walked on beyond. So I didn't actually see it, but it looks as though the mothers led these cubs away from here. So that frees it up for an opportunity for us to get ourselves out. So upon Joy and Ray arriving here, they're having a good chuckle at us because they reckon we might need a tractor. So we're all attached now. Joy's just going to take up the slack. I'm going to get back behind the driver's wheel and we'll then see how we go from there. So our assumptions were right. No matter how hard we tried, Joy and Ray's vehicle couldn't pull us out without themselves getting stuck. So the tractor is on its way.
Yo, my friend, yeah, there's no chance. We need to wait the tractor to come and help us. Otherwise, we'll sleep here.
So while we were sitting waiting for the tractor, we could hear some growling and some of the cubs a little bit further away. So we've decided to hop onto Joy and Ray's vehicle to come around and have a look. And we've driven around the corner to 4 females, all underneath the same tree, and one of them with a few cubs. So after a spectacular time with those females and the cubs, Frank is on his way, and so I'm back in the vehicle now. There was absolutely no ways that the vehicle would have been pulled out by just Joy alone. It's all in the hopes and attempts of getting the shot. At least we did get somewhat of a shot, although it was only with the help of Joy and Ray and helping in their vehicle that we then got a decent view of those cubs.
Now it's time, yeah?
What time?
Let's see.
Time for what?
Time to check you out now. Let's see.
So thankfully Frank has come to the rescue, and we are hopefully going to get out soon. And just like that, it was a piece of cake with Frank. And I believe the vehicle may need a little bit of a clean. As you can see, these tires are covered in a bit of mud. So we're freed and now on our way back to camp, just in time for a late lunch.